Hello there and welcome back to the SWTVC podcast, the audio home of the SWTVC crew and the ongoing push for the continued existence, expansion, and success of the heritage scale of Star Wars collecting. I'm your host, Evan Fries, or as you may know me on Instagram, @MileHighGround, and I am joined, almost as always, by my wonderful sidekick, SWTVC member, co-host, stealth host of the show, John Lindquist, aka @TheVintageConcepts. How are you doing, John?
Great. Now that I'm your sidekick, I'm happy to be the Robin to your Batman any day.
Yeah. I mean,
if I get to wear the shorts, yeah.
Really, when I think about it, it's like, I don't think I'm Batman. I think I'm more the Alfred to this. We wanted to really quick sit down, chat today. So at the time of recording this, it is 6 days counting till the Hasbro panel at San Diego Comic-Con. However, you, the listeners, are going to be hearing this. Comic-Con is going to be imminent. So we've wanted to kind of just chat a little bit about HasLabs, some things going on, current events right now, where we're at this very moment in summer of 2023, right before Comic-Con. In terms of collecting, we could pull back and look at the world, but we don't do that here because that would be exhausting and sad and throw me into another existential crisis. I don't need another one. Speaking of existential crisis, mail calls this week. Walmart shipped out the second of their three Clone Wars 20th anniversary ARC Trooper repacks named. I can't commit the names. Anyway, the second one is it Colt? Colt.
Yes. I always think Colt is the blue one, like Cobalt, but he's the red one with the skull on his helmet.
The first one we got was Havoc, right?
Yes.
And then there's Colt.
Yes.
And the next one is
Blitz.
Blitz?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Fake fan, me, I can't commit clone names to memory. I struggle with that. Love the Clone Wars, don't get me wrong. But anyway, existential crisis. This is why we're here. Walmart shipping woes continue. They arrived a little the worse for the wear. John, how many did you order?
I ordered 3, one to open, one to keep carded, one for a local friend. Wanted to combine that Walmart shipping cost. They all arrived with Walmart, you're either going to get a box, a bubble mailer, or just a straight up plastic bag with no protection whatsoever. I got that option this time.
Very cool.
Yes, all 3 cards are okay. I'll give them points on that, but all 3 bubbles are falling off of those cards, which is not ideal for a carded collection. Yeah, not great.
I ordered 3 myself for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And mine came in a bubble mailer. So yay.
A step up from mine, I guess.
That.
Yeah.
Again, 2 of the 3 cards were okay. Miraculously, one of the 3 is in really good condition. The bubble was on the card. It wasn't crunched. And there was minimal damage to the card, like just a little bit of wear on the corners. The other 2 looked like John Miko had gotten to them with a one-hand bubble crush and twist. They had been completely crumpled. The rifle,
he's doing it in the factory now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. We all need work. But yeah, the bubbles were completely falling off, not even ripped. So it's like, oh, the glue issue maybe. Like they're obviously just coming off, and the card on one of them was kind of bent at a 40-some degree angle. We've been told many times that this would be a problem that would be addressed or fixed, or that things would be put into place. Obviously, that's not happening. So I don't know.
I don't know what to do on this other than hope.
Just keep making noise.
All we can do now is, Walmart can implement these things, but it's up to the factory workers who are not paid enough to care or know how to do this. They're packing 1,000 things. They're packing lawnmowers and bikes, and I don't know what else do they ship those things from Walmart.com? I have no idea.
They ship anything. You could probably buy a horse.
Anything and everything. Oh my God. I might have to do that right after the podcast. I'm going to buy a horse. But, so I don't know. That's just they're just not set up to care about this stuff like the fan channel shops are, unfortunately. One of my bubbles was like there's a big rip in the side, and the other 2 are just like the glue looks like maybe they got some of that short round glue we've been talking about where it's just falling right off.
Yeah, actually, I'll have to look. I wonder if they have similar production dates to the
maybe
Indiana Jones retro. Sorry, I went all Scooby-Doo there for a second. Retro. I don't know. I kind of wonder too, like, what can we do to champion Hasbro for this? I know they notoriously want to spend as little money as possible. Oh, they're a business, but like,
Yeah.
could they do something like the SIOC, the ships in original container individual boxes that we've seen Walmart or Amazon exclusives get, with just a little extra protection where it's the item within the box where they treat the carded item as the product itself inside a separate container for that item.
And the argument against that's a great idea, but the argument against that is that sometimes these figures are also going to be on shelf, so they don't want to have to unbox the SIOCs. I know this one might not get to shelf. It might show up in 2 years. It might show up at Ollie's in 6 months, or Entertainment Earth in 3 months. We do not know. It's one of the above. Usually seems to happen with these exclusives. But
I know Havoc showed up on shelves months later. I think that was probably a special arrangement to get something because. But, we've still got Landos from 2021 clogging. So I think we're still close to a item number change, a SKU change or something, which would hopefully help. But
I think another solution could be just to have these guys in 2-packs or 3-packs, and that could be a box, and then that could sit on shelf as well as be shipped to people, similar to how Amazon is doing some of their retro collection and Black Series 2-packs, as well as Vintage Collection is now doing 2-packs, like the Ewok set. Presumably the upcoming Obi-Wan and Vader set, where it's in 2 carded figures in another box to kind of give it even more protection. I think that could be something for them to look at. That's my vote at the moment.
That would be a great idea for many reasons, the least of which is not these 3 ARC Trooper repacks or repaints.
Yeah.
Did they need to be peppered across a 12-month period?
No.
Did we need to wait all this time for the only 3 things that they did? They touted the anniversary and it was just like, and here you 3 repaints coming from Walmart whenever. I don't know. I kept forgetting about them. So when people were talking about Colt in one of our chats, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that's coming.
Yeah.
And then showed up and was like, okay, cool. It's destroyed. Now what?
Another thing. Yeah. We ordered it in November, waited 8 months only to have it ripped to shreds. But I mean, the immediate solution is, luckily you got lucky with one of them. A local friend of mine got lucky.
I recognize that. I was very frustrated, but very lucky.
And I mean, a local friend of mine ordered 2, one to open, one to keep carded, and they're both in great condition. So we're going to swap. I'm going to get one. I can keep that one carded. He can just open one of the ones that's already pre-opened for him. It's easy. They make it easy for us sometimes. They open the figures for us. But so, that's one of the good things about the community and the friends we make along the way.
Yeah,
those are the real
that's
ARC
what
Troopers.
Makes it fun.
Yes.
But yeah, you kind of touched on that where we ordered them in November. We ordered them around the same time we ordered some $23 Boba Fett repaints from Target. One of which showed up months ago
in stores.
In stores. So everybody just kind of got one then. That was the Kenner color one. The other 2, which I think were ordered a little bit after, was that December maybe?
I don't have it pulled up. A little bit after the first one.
Yeah, the first one, though, still is sitting as a pre-order on Target's website. There's no date, no estimated arrival. Nobody's pre-orders are being fulfilled.
Yep.
So we complain about Walmart. At least they're sending us the damn things.
Yeah.
Target has no interest in actually shipping the things to you.
Yeah.
There's the 2 other Boba Fett's. They're a mystery. Of course, all of these exclusives have been available since time began. Everywhere else, and it's just the US, which is again confuses me because it's the partnership with a lot of the US retailers is what we're told is what makes these exclusives possible. That's great. Why are we not getting them? But we talked about it in the live stream we did recently a little bit. So it's just frustration. It feels good to repeat. Let's all get angry and then let's breathe and bring it back.
It is a problem that you think would be able to be fixed. Like, I don't know. I know some things Target ships from their own stores. Not everything, but sometimes they fulfill items that come to their stores and they ship them out from pre-orders or from store delivery or whatever. Not always.
That's why you'll see something come in stock in your local store. I've seen this happen where it'll come in stock in your store, but they'll never put it out and it'll immediately go out of stock because they then ship it out.
Yep.
To fulfill orders for someone else.
And sometimes I get Target orders that are the address is like somewhere else across the country, but that does happen a lot. But it just did not happen with the first Boba Fett, and God only knows if it will happen with number 2 or 3. We do not know. And there are plenty of other pre-orders from other Hasbro lines and other companies that are doing the same thing. So it seems to be a big target issue at the moment.
Yeah.
Just to speak on another thing real quick, I know that Amazon is shipping out some Transformers figures where they just completely swapped the figures across 2 orders, across 2 items. So if you ordered item A, you actually got item B and vice versa.
That's not confusing at all.
Yeah, so what they did was they just swapped the item descriptions on their website. So Walmart will ship your items damaged, Amazon will ship the wrong item, and Target won't even ship you anything at all. So we're lucky to have these valued retail partners here in the United States of America. Greatest country in the world. We love it.
Oh man, we do. Speaking of retailers though, Hasbro Pulse is still in the game every once in a while. The new wave of the vintage collection, the wave featuring Darth Vader, Death Star 2, Han Solo, Endor Bunker, Tusken Warrior, Captain Hauser, and a Weequay repack. That's hard to say. Repack Weequay.
Weequay repack. Say that 5 times fast.
I'm not going to. I feel like there's enough sound bites in this podcast across the years we've done it that if someone wanted to humiliate me, they could just take the time and find every dumb thing that is said. Those finally hit Hasbro Pulse. The Tusken Warrior was up for pre-order, was the only one that was up for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse. And I did notice it the other week, said that it was going to start shipping July 14th. Lo and behold, that was roughly about the time they put up the rest of the wave to ship.
Yeah. And so I guess the Tusken Raider is now in stock as well, I assume.
Yes. They're all in stock, so you can order them all. Hasbro made sure in the announcement, though, to feature Hauser as the main draw of the wave, because everybody obviously was chomping at the bit for Hauser, not Vader or Han.
The one that's been available from Amazon with a different name pill for over a year, but
yeah, you could still get in a 4-pack for $40. So.
But I got the wave case from Entertainment Earth a few weeks ago, and then I was able to get. I wanted a Weequay opener, even though I have the one from 11 years ago. I need a slightly different one with different paint. Why not? Yeah. I don't know, but
my mentally ill self ordered another Hauser. I did the thing that I didn't intend on doing. I ordered an opener of Hauser where it's like, I already have this figure. Yeah. So now I have 4 of this figure, 2 carded and 2 open. But literally just because on my open display, my OCD got the better of me and I need to have all of them. So
I am curious to know if there are any differences. I don't think I've seen anybody post the differences, if there are any.
Well, I'll let you know when
nobody bought 2, So.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad.
You're doing a service for us all.
I'm the reason that we have these things, and I'm sorry, everybody.
Yes.
But that you wrote here on the notes that this was the last of the confusing no more pre-order stuff that Hasbro did, which, again, to reiterate, was Hasbro not saying we're never doing pre-orders again, no more pre-orders. They were just saying we're going to try to pull back on the number of pre-orders.
Yeah, and I guess it only applied to that day on the stuff they announced February 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, it was super half-assed. It was very vague, non-committal, half-assed, and confusing. But
people asking me, "What did I order this already?" Like, kind of. If you ordered the Tusken Raider, or Amazon's been getting them over the past few days, and now they're finally on Pulse, and they've been hitting stores a little bit. But I don't know. They're available now, and so I don't know. It was confusing. I do appreciate. Something comes in stock, you buy it, it ships, you get it a few days later. That's a fun experience.
Yeah.
But
it's tough, though, when it's in stock or pre-order or other places and you have some of it. Yeah, like you said.
Very confusing.
Yeah, that was, those were announced pretty much the same day as the 212th clones, which also just shipped recently with a running change we discovered. We haven't talked about that on the show, nor do we really need to. Everybody's well aware at this point that the brow lines were missing on the original. The community made noise and we're like, we want the brow lines. Vintage collection should be based on realistic interpretations of stuff instead of animated, which was the excuse for them not having the extra paint deco was they're based on the cartoon. It was like, yeah, but the cartoon's based on something real. So yeah.
And, but cause I ordered 1 and I got no brows. And you ordered a few and you got a little bit of each. Is that correct?
I ordered 6 and I just did a couple runs of returns with Hasbro exchanges and ended up, so I started with 2 of the brow line version and 4 of the non-brow line brow line version. I then ultimately ended up with all those returns with 2 of the brow line version and still 4 of the non-brow line version. So looks like the running change happened late March, early April. So check those date stamps, folks. We've talked about it on the live stream and over on Instagram at SWTVC. Good luck with that. It's been frustrating. I kind of gave up trying to get more of the corrected versions. So
I still need the corrected version. I would like the corrected version. I would have been fine if I didn't get the browless version, but I do want the brow version. So take note, everybody.
Yeah.
But
maybe I'll order more, see what happens. But again,
thanks.
I'm already losing my mind here. So
One more thing that's not shipping yet, but has its shipping date moved up a little bit. The Tusken Raider 4-pack that was estimated to ship around September 1st now says August 2nd, so that might be coming sooner than we thought. Again, hoping to get some of that stuff out of the way of the HasLab. Hopefully that'll be on its way soon.
Yeah, we do have a lot sitting in the pre-order parking lot right now, so it's we'll see.
Yeah,
I am excited for that set though.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to just a little news item here, though, kind of continuing with things that are on pre-order. This week saw the reveal of the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive for this year for the Vintage Collection, and it is Chrysanthemum. He's already coming to the Vintage Collection in the deluxe line expression. I'm using air quotes here for, what is that? What are they now? $28?
Yeah, $27.99, I believe.
$27.99. Okay, great. This version is the same figure, but
$12 more than that.
Yeah, there's more than that, but this will be going up for pre-order during the convention for people that are there, presumably with the QR code that they've kind of been using lately. I believe the first one I saw was back at Celebration last year when they did the Paz Vizsla Jon Favreau one.
Yeah,
and then it'll be up on Hasbro Pulse later.
Yeah, and just as a note on that, I think last year during Celebration, it was one QR code, and they just handed it out to everybody. So if somebody posted it online or sent it to you in a text, if they were a pal, you could just click it and get to Hasbro Pulse and order it. But then for the more recent ones, it was like a one-time use. Each one was a one-time use QR code.
Yeah.
So we might have to be a little patient on this one.
Yeah.
So this includes a different growling head, not an additional head. So if you want both expressions, you have to buy both versions, similar to the 2021 PulseCon Emperor Palpatine or the 2022 PulseCon Rescue Sets Dark Trooper. And I sort of look at this in line with those convention exclusives over the past few years where it debuts a figure at the convention, but includes different unique accessories, which they've been doing kind of in both lines.
Real quick, I mentioned the price of the deluxe version being $27.99, and this is $39.99.
Yeah, I said $12 more, but I won't make you do the math this early.
Sorry. Yeah, that's obviously right. I was listening. I'm a very active listener on this show.
We love to hear it. But as far as accessories, so both of these, as far as we know, include 3 sets of hands, electric effects for his knuckle duster, brass knuckles, a blaster, a Melu Run fruit, and a tankard. The San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version includes all that, plus a bowcaster, which looks like the same straight reuse of the Chewbacca one we've all gotten a million times. Another blaster with a removable electric effect, and 2 big old knives, all of which come from the comics. And it also has some comic art on the box, even though it's got a Book of Boba Fett logo, it has some Book of Boba Fett images on it of Chrysanthemum from that show. It also has images of him from the comics from Whence He Came. So does this qualify as a quote-unquote publishing greats figure like we talked about a while back on one of those older shows?
I'm going to say yes. And
I won't count it. Why not?
I also think it will torpedo the argument of their original Black Series, Chrysanthemum, because he's supposed to just look pretty much the same, man. It's like Chewbacca looked the same for hundreds of years. Like Chrysanthemum didn't just become like this skinny, anemic little thing and turn into a hulking thing just based on whatever.
He was a big boy from his first appearance. So this is more in line with both his TV and his comic appearances, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
So he can go with, I know he worked with Dr. Aphra a little bit in the comics, so you can put him on the display with that figure if you want to have a different display, or you can have him in another Book of Boba Fett. But I saw some people saying I'll get this one, but skip the mainline one, which, do you, but you won't get both the growling and closed mouth expressions if you only get one, just for the record.
Speaking of things to display him with, hopefully we can get some kind of Obi-Wan for him to go with, because they also had a fight in the comics.
Yes, that's true.
So.
That's true.
here's me over here just hoping for all the Obi-Wans that'll never come. So
there's always more Obi-Wan possibilities they could do.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
yeah, there you go. There is one coming. So SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, for those of you that aren't hip to the lingo and the acronyms. We've got a pipeline. We've got 5 things in the pipeline right now that were revealed in February and since in between February and May the 4th.
So we're wondering, will they clear the pipeline this week at San Diego Comic-Con? Back in February 1st, when they revealed some of these weird pre-order things, they revealed, of course, the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader 2-pack.
Yes. Yeah. So that's now the oldest thing in the pipeline. Everything else that was pipelined alongside that has since been revealed or released or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Black Series fans actually did have this Vader, the battle damage Vader that Hasbro specified was indeed in this set for Vintage Collection. That Vader was pipelined for Black Series fans, I think, at the next
Celebration
event that they did at
April,
Celebration. Yeah. And then that actually just went up for order at the time of recording yesterday. However, it is a Target exclusive. So as you heard at the top of the show, good luck, everybody, on getting that one. So
yes. And there's 4 other items in the pipeline, which were all pipelined at Celebration in April, alongside the Grand Inquisitor, who was later revealed and put up for order on the May the 4th stream on, of course, May the 3rd. And those figures are Grand Admiral Thrawn in his Rebels appearance.
Yes. We did actually finally get a proper look, though, at Lars as live-action Thrawn in that awesome new Ahsoka trailer that just dropped this past week. So curious to see how they're going to, do that.
Because interestingly, his costume looks almost identical to his, like, a 1-to-1 animation to live-action interpretation. Yeah. So maybe they'll just reuse the same body. And we assume this is going to be, based on the Admiral Piet Moff Jared Imperial Officer body.
Yes.
As is, skipping ahead a little bit, Director Krennic. Another one we've been asking for a while is Pre Vizsla, who came very close to winning against Chrysanthemum last year in our SWTVC March Madness tournament. Also, pipeline for Black Series. We know it is the Phase 2 version. Will that have a Clone Wars 20th logo on it? We do not know. Depends on when it comes out, I guess. And then the last figure in the pipeline right now is Darth Revan. Maybe we'll see it this week. It would be a good time to release it because today, the day we're recording it, July 15th, 2023, is the 20th anniversary of the release of Knights of the Old Republic. Wow, anniversaries abound this year, folks.
Yeah, they all make me feel bad about myself, too.
We're old.
Yeah.
So
is this what it's like? Yeah. Just shouting about toys like, I'm not getting any younger. Oh, yeah. Damn, it's sinking in.
So maybe we'll see these items revealed at Comic-Con. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll see 1 or 2 or none or all 5. Could we get something else? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Could we foolishly hope for some surprises? Of course we can, but let's just try to manage our expectations a little bit, especially because there is something pretty big that is going to be revealed and probably launched at Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And that is a HasLab.
Whoa.
So, yes, at Celebration, Hasbro confirmed that the Vintage Collection is indeed getting a HasLab, and it would be revealed later this year. Well, guess what? It's later this year. Here we are.
Yes.
They will be launching this on Friday, July 21st during the panel. They will be doing the full bells and whistles. Here's the HasLab. Here's what it is.
And presumably showing it in person. So if you get to go, there's going to be no panels because all the actors and writers are on strike, but you hopefully get to see a nice, shiny new HasLab in person. So that's something, right?
Yeah, especially since Hasbro has been teasing it. They've been putting out little cryptic teasers, and I think one of the things said Deco applied or model or something.
Yeah.
That'll be nice to see. There's, of course, at this point, you're probably well aware of all of the speculation of what it is and what it could be or what it likely is or what we think it is. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's just walk it back a little bit in time. Let's flow walk back in time a little bit. Look at the history of Star Wars Vintage Collection HasLabs. Well, Star Wars HasLabs in general. The successful ones being, of course, the Vintage Collection ones. First up was 2018's The Katana, Jabba's Sail Barge. John, take it away.
This was the first Star Wars HasLab. It was the first HasLab ever in general. It cost $499.99. The backer goal was 5,000, and it blew past that with 8,810. So not as high as some of the more recent HasLabs. It was the first. A lot of questions around it. It was not available to international backers unless you count Canada as international. And around 400 of them were eventually added to Hasbro's eBay page. So some folks overseas were able to get one via that method. Obviously not perfect. And there are plenty of international collectors who would still love to get their hands on one.
Can I just say that talking about this in 2019, I'm remembering all this stuff happening. This feels like it was so long ago.
Yeah.
That was 4 years, man. That's not that long, but man.
5 years. Yeah. It came out
5
4
years.
years ago.
Yeah.
It launched 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It launched at Toy Fair 2018, right when the vintage collection was starting to come back. So that it was a big way to kind of get the line going again. The dates were February 17th to April 3rd. So it was a 45-day campaign, which kind of set the stage for all the other campaigns to be about the same. And it funded on March 30th, 2018. So it took a little bit to get going. It had a big jump at first, and then it kind of slowly built, and then it had another big surge at the end, which is fairly typical in these crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah, once it was secured, it seemed to run away a little bit more people being like, "Oh, okay, that's happening. I need."
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah, and the FOMO kicked in, I guess, as it always does, or not always, but it had estimated shipping date of, I don't know when the estimated shipping date was, but it shipped 11 months after the end of the campaign. The base offering included a Behind the Workbench 64-page booklet and a Jabba the Hutt figure, which was a repaint of a previously released 3.75-inch scale Black Series figure from the Toys R Us exclusive Rancor pit set. So it's been paywalled behind these kind of expensive items. That was like 100 something, so not as bad as 500, but at the time there were no stretch goals. There was no tier unlocks. They weren't doing that yet. But to alter the deal, they added a vintage collection Yak Face figure added to the base offering, so everybody was going to get it. It was already coming to the main line in 2019, but they added a exclusive Power of the Force card back and collector coin, as well as a little cup not available in the mainline figure. And as far as I know, I did not buy a second to get that little cup. I believe it's the same as the ones from the R2D2 vintage collection, the Bar 2D2 figure, I think. Don't quote me on that. I think the coloring might be a little different. I'm going to tell myself it's the same, so I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars getting an opener of that figure.
Yeah, same, man. Same. Can you imagine that at that time, I considered not getting it because I thought, $500, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
You know what? Shout out to my cousin Layla. Thanks for hooking me up and helping me get that, because it would not have been possible without her. She let me coast on her good graces for an extra bit of time so I could get my stuff together and send her some money to get it. But
nice. I mean, yeah, it was by far at the time the most expensive. Still to this day, maybe not to the end of this week, the most expensive single item in the line. So, not that we don't routinely drop hundreds of dollars on this stuff, but it's spread out a little more. You don't have to think about it as much. When you see that price tag of $499.99 plus, did Pulse Premium even exist at the time? I don't know if it did yet.
No, that came later. That was the next year.
Right.
I think Pulse Premium launched in end of 2019-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
Or 2020, somewhere in there.
There's a whole, back in the day, Hasbro Toy Shop existed before Hasbro Pulse was even a thing. I don't know the timing on all this. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that, but it was all new. It was all confusing. To many people, it's still confusing. But what a great opening salvo for HasLab. There was also a sail barge petition from several fan sites in the years prior to that, which I think only got about 2,000 some signatures. But it showed that there was a big demand for it. And then in the Blue Milk book, Steve Evans and some of the other, Joe Ninavaji and some of the other guys in the Hasbro team were talking, if we could get the barge out, how would we do that? How could we get some of these dream items out to fans? And HasLab was born from that, and they have never looked back.
So all of you collectors out there of other lines, other things that have gotten HasLabs that have been things that you've wanted or things that are exciting, you can thank Star Wars and the Vintage Collection for that.
Yes, our irresponsible spending habits have funded yours as well. But so, of course, a lot of people wanted the sail barge for years. It was one of the items from the original trilogy that had never been made. They had skiffs and a sarlacc and all kinds of Jabba's goons for years. They had already had several figures to populate it over the years, but Hasbro also built quite a line around it at the time of release. And I'm not going to go over every item, but we did some posts. I did some posts.
Yes,
I'll take credit.
Yes,
but,
please do. Please do.
You can check them out on @SWTVC on Instagram, of course, where we talked about the items that were released alongside the sail barge, the successful sail barge. Some of which included a Jabba's Palace adventure set, which started the playset expression in the Vintage Collection 2.0. They brought out a Tatooine skiff that you could display. You got to get two to display them alongside the sail barge, along with plenty of figures repacked, repainted, new, better legs for Lando, a better version of Jedi Knight Luke, a brand new Boba Fett, Bib Fortuna, mostly new Bib Fortuna, as well as a Skiff Guards 3-pack, including two repacks and one, kit bash. And that continues to this day for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi with, of course, the new Court Denizens 4-pack, including Tame Drin Garen, the guy who shoots Luke's hand on the sail barge, a key piece of sail barge action that we can finally recreate in our collections, as well as, of course, Velkin Tazeri, the last skiff guard to join that first skiff. And the Vidane, the skiff pilot, was never made until 2019 as well. So it's a way, these HasLabs kind of open the door for them to build a nice line around them and get out some long requested figures as well. Heroes, new versions of heroes, as well as obscure characters to go along with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're done. Of course, there are plenty of highly wanted Jabba's Palace, Jabba's Sail Barge figures in the line as well. We also did a post on some of the most wanted. Got to get Fozak in there. You got to get the rest of the skiff guards from the second skiff.
Window Weequay.
Got to get Window Weequay.
He's so popular and important that he's not even named. It's crazy.
Yeah. Luke pulls him out of the sail barge and he climbs all the way back up just to die again. He tried his best. But there's a lot they can still do. So
it's nice to see 4 years later, since that's hit our collections. It's been a little over 4 years since we got it. It's nice to see them still treat these big centerpiece items like the sail barge, treat it as a thing to still build parts of the line around. It's still a bit of a priority, and it definitely, I don't doubt, has boosted the likelihood of some things. Like, would we have a Velkin Tazeri if we didn't have that mini beat of the sail barge being something that was like, oh, cool, renewed interest, or here's why it's important to have these things. So
hopefully they continue to build the line around it. Shall we go to the next Vintage Collection HasLab?
Yes. So then the next one they queued up was in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
the Razor Crest, which I still have not opened. Excuse me on that one. But
dude, come on.
I'm waiting I was hoping to have a nice big day where I could just sit and enjoy it and open it. And, life just gets in the way every dang day. But God bless it. It's great, isn't it? Anyway, that's my problem. It cost $349.99, so it's about $150 less. Is that the math right? Yes, than the sail barge. It needed 6,000 backers, so that's 1,000 more than the sail barge needed, and it got 28,111. So blowing well past it. I think it took about 26 hours to back, which was awesome to see. The campaign started September 25th, 2020. And ended on November 9th, 2020. And of course, as everyone remembers, a month later, on Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, aka Chapter 14, The Tragedy, on December 4th, 2020, the Razor Crest exploded, blasted into oblivion. But it was just, following the HasLab tradition because the sail barge was exploded in its very first appearance in Return of the Jedi.
That can't be right, John. We don't have toys of characters that are dead or vehicles that are broken.
Nobody would want that, right?
No.
That's why we just got a Darth Vader from his dying scene. One of my favorite figures of the year, perhaps,
And that's why we keep asking for a Death Star, because it notoriously didn't get blown up 3 times.
Yep. Yeah. So it was estimated to ship in fall 2021. Of course, it did not ship until January or February 2022. About
February for me. I remember I was out of town when it arrived.
Yeah, mine was also February, I think. but it's listed as January on their site. Maybe they're trying to trick us.
Some people did get theirs in January. I do
Okay.
remember that. There was like a small run of folks that got them a month earlier, and we're all just like waiting. We were all waiting.
So as opposed to the 11-month wait after the Sail Barge campaign closed to when we got it, this was a 14-month wait, which, and I've checked all the other HasLabs, that's fairly typical. It's usually about 12 to 15 months after we back it that it arrives in our homes. The base offering included, of course, the Razor Crest itself, but included a vintage collection of the Mandalorian figure in Beskar armor with a, at the time, one-of-a-kind soft goods cape. And just set the stage a little bit before we dive into what they've included around it. At the time, there were only 3 Mandalorian figures in the line. It was the Mandalorian in his original armor, Cara Dune, and the Remnant Stormtrooper. That was all we had. Mm-hmm. Those came out in early 2020. Yeah, because season 1 had aired in the fall of, check my notes. Check my notes is when it aired. November 12th through December 27th, 2019. And season 2 started October 30th, over a month after the Razor Crest campaign began and funded. But it was still, the show was still running as the campaign was going on. That was what the base offering had. Blew past it really quickly.
Too quickly for Hasbro. Yeah,
so they claimed they only had 2 tier unlocks available, but the success led to them adding more. Don't know how, if that's correct, if that's true. Because some of it was like, you meant to include that, I'm sure. But at 8,000 backers, there was the Escape Pod, which we were all like, oh, how's he going to use that in Season 2? And he didn't. At 10,000, it was a vintage collection of the Child figure. We didn't know his name was Grogu yet. With an exclusive end of Season 1 hover pram, which was in the Vac Metal deco treatment, which we all know and love.
And we hadn't had a Grogu in the vintage collection yet.
Yeah, there was about to be a Walmart exclusive one with Mando, but it hadn't quite hit when we were backing this item. Might have been announced already. Some of the stuff might have been announced, but we didn't really get anything else until after it had closed.
Yes. And that was Walmart exclusive, and there was issues with that.
Yes, there's always issues with Walmart exclusives. What?
That pack also shared the same VC number as another Walmart exclusive, the Incinerator Trooper. And so there's 2 VC 177s in the line.
Yes.
Not that matters to anyone except for me.
But this Grogu also included an exclusive head and arm sculpt with the little gear shift knob in his hand. The next tier unlock, so apparently those were the only 2 that were planned, but we kept, more and more backers kept jumping on.
We sailed well over that final, quote unquote, final tier, and kept the numbers just kept racking up of people backing it.
Yeah. So it was, at first we felt like every 2,000 there was going to be another thing, because it was 6,000 was the base, 8,000 was the first tier unlock, 10,000 was the second tier unlock. We had already blown past 12,000 when they announced at 13,000 we would get 4 carbonite blocks, which there was already clips for them. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know how they were going to not make those or include them, but whatever. At 15,000 there was the clear display stand, which they are doing a similar one for the N1 coming up later this year. And the final tier at 17,000 backers was a vintage collection off-world Jawa Elder figure, similar to the one that was coming later in the main line, with exclusive accessories, including a necklace, a knife, an open egg, and exclusive card back as well.
Other than the accessories, identical to the figure that was in the main line.
Yes. So, I wanted to mention some of those figures in the HasLab campaigns. The figures themselves were sort of available elsewhere, though the accessories and cards were exclusive. And like I said, Grogu's head and arm were exclusive. And Mando's cape was eventually reissued in the rescue set. And the figure itself was the same as a Mando figure that was coming out shortly thereafter in fall 2020, early 2021. But yeah, so the tier unlocks are usually not brought back to the line, but they do sometimes feed into the line. I know some of the Marvel ones and some of the G.I. Joe ones, like we've seen those bodies again or repainted as other items in the main line, just for the record. And we'll get to that in a minute with the next Star Wars HasLab as well.
And since, as they did with the Sail Barge, the Mandalorian obviously was very popular. It still continues to be, despite what the internet would tell you. Hasbro did Plenty. They have done a lot, more than you would think at just a first glance, to support that Razor Crest mini beat in the line. I know there's notoriously the Patrick's Promise thing that people will get bent out of shape about, and that there have been some releases for the Black Series that are frustrating to see because they would have complemented our Razor Crests a lot better or at all. And it's frustrating because some of those figures have then since failed in the Black Series to sell well, so it hurts our chances of seeing them maybe in the vintage collection. But I do hope they're still on the radar, and they do still continue to populate the world of the Mandalorian. So
yeah, it remains a popular choice for figures in the vintage collection. Still don't have a ton for season 3 other than R5D4, of course, but
the true hero of season 3. But yes.
And like you said, on one of the streams when they were announcing it or talking about the Razor Crest, Patrick said, by the time it ships, we would have, quote, nearly all the figures that interact with it in the line, which, not 100% true. We went over that, but we got all the heavy hitters. We got Mando and Grogu in the line. They re-released Mando and the Remnant Stormtrooper. Sorry, Kara. She had a little issue going on at the time that meant she did not get re-released. But, they had the Offworld Jawa. They had IG-11. They had, eventually the Mythrol and Bo-Katan and Finnick and Axe-Woves and Casca Reeves and Queel, of course. All these characters that interact or share scenes with the Razor Crest. And we did post about that on SWTVC on Instagram as well.
We now have Paz Vizsla that can give it the salute on a fly stand next to it if you want.
So. As well as, the Maldo Kree Spiders and Boba Fett's, another repack of Boba Fett's Starship, which kind of shares screen time with it as it gets blown up. And I went through meticulously and looked at all the episodes where the Razor Crest appeared. Everyone who shared screen time or physical space or touched or went in or interacted with the Razor Crest made posts about that and then split them up by planet. Just of note, I'll run down a few notable ones we need.
Please do.
Season 1 Grief Karga, the Blurg, the Prison Crew, especially Migs Mayfeld and Zero, which both exist in the Black Series. We have Season 2 Migs, but we need Season 1. We got to have Peli Motto. She's perhaps my most wanted, right alongside Frog Lady. It'd be nice to have Carson Teva and
freak for Frog Lady.
And some of these guys don't necessarily need. There are several versions of Grogu and Mando that can still do. We need his little silver shoulder without the Mudhorn sign on it that he wore for most of season 1 in both of his looks. It was the first piece to get upgraded. We never got it on his old armor or his new armor. I don't know. That's just strange to me, but whatever. Also need Boba Fett, the Morak Boba Fett repainted in his Tython colors. It can be $6,000 with all the paint apps, but it would look awesome. And it would display well with all the other Tython figures we already have. So they've done a lot. There's a lot more they can do, but they definitely build the line around these items, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, it's not like they do them and then ignore them and say, okay, well, you got what you got at the end. It's very much like it keeps it top of mind as they continue to build out, as new media continues going, as we hit these milestone anniversaries where they still find ways to make room for other things that can complement or at least make some sense on that mini beat. Anything else to say about the Razor Crest?
No, not really.
Okay. Well,
once I open it, maybe I'll have something to say about it, but God only knows when that'll happen.
We'll do a special presentation of live stream of John opening his Razor Crest 2, 3, 4, 5 years after it came out. So it'll be great. You will have all the crew by the time you open it up.
Yes. Yeah. I'm keeping Patrick to his promise. It only, it hit our doorsteps a year ago. So not too bad. Right.
Yeah. Almost a year and a half, but yeah.
Well, something that never hit our doorsteps.
Yeah. Speaking of, there have been 2 HasLabs since the Razor Crest campaign 2021 saw the Black Series 6-inch scale, their first HasLab attempt. The now infamous Rancor.
Yeah.
You can listen to our episode that we did about it, I think the day of or the day after the campaign, spoiler alert, failed spectacularly. At one point, it was going backwards in backers. Need to be going up, not down. That's a 2-hour-long episode. You can listen to us sighing. Tyler wasn't there, so we made sure to sigh appropriately for him. So anyway, if you don't want to listen to that episode, though, John, I have a feeling you have some quick stats queued up.
I have some stats. So much like the Razor Crest, it was $349.99. It had a goal of 9,000 backers. It actually got quite close with 8,533, which is that more or less than the Sail Barge? Let me see real quick. Boy,
and a large chunk of that final push was on the final day of. It looked like folks panicking trying to get it to cross the finish line.
Yeah, so the final number was about 300 less than the Sail Barge got all those years previously. And by this time, it was open to more international backers. Not everyone in the world, but more. Oh, real quick about the Razor Crest, I forgot it was available internationally through Zavvi, at least in the UK. So they're always looking at ways to expand how it can reach new audiences, which is always a good thing. Anyway, the Rancor campaign ran from October 22nd, 2021 to December 6th, 2021, with an estimated shipping date of spring 2023. They did mention that it would, hey, what do you know? That's the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary.
Which they specifically mentioned when promoting this thing.
They specifically said, yes, all the packaging was Return of the Jedi themed, or some of it was Power of the Force themed, but it was very clearly designed to celebrate Return of the Jedi. You'd get it maybe on the day Return of the Jedi celebrated its 40th anniversary, if that actually happened, but it did not happen. So the stretch goals were figures and bones, womp womp. Every time they announced cardboard. Yeah. So they kept saying that they would not announce what the stretch goals were until they hit the next one. Mm-hmm. They didn't hit any of them, so they revealed all of them ahead of time to kind of goose interest, which never really happened.
It sputtered out real quick.
Yeah. Every time, it kind of hurt them every time. I'll say real quick, the Sail Barge and the Razor Crest both felt worth the asking price, and all the tier unlocks felt like fun bonuses. The Yak Face felt like a nice bonus. Like, I'm sure it helped sales. I'm sure it helped.
But you were already comfortable spending $499.99 on the Sail Barge itself.
Yep. If the Razor Crest
on the Razor Crest itself.
Yeah. If that particular Grogu and Off-World Jawa didn't make it out, I wouldn't have lost any sleep. But yeah. So I think people maybe didn't feel that the Rancor was worth it, but again, we've gone over this, but I'm reopening old wounds that we said we would never talk about, but here we are. Anyway.
Yeah.
The stretch goals were, at 11,000, it would be a Gamorrean Guard repack on a Power of the Force card with a coin. Which, well, the Rancor eats the Gamorrean Guard. That would make sense.
I know, but it's just like, why on the Power of the Force card? Whatever. Yeah.
It was a figure that they already had in the line.
Yeah.
At 13.5 thousand backers, it would be bone accessory pieces and a cardboard background. That was the moment we knew
when it lost backers. It lost backers on that tier reveal.
It was at that moment Hasbro knew they messed up.
Yeah.
But they were fine. But they probably could have just included that in the base offering. They could have included the cardboard backdrop as part of the box. Not made such a big deal about it, and it would have been a nice thing to have. Mm-hmm. Or a nice thing to put in the trash or put in storage or whatever.
Nice thing to put in the trash. Recycling, John.
Yes, the recycling trash. The next up was at 16,000 backers, Salacious B. Crumb, a repack on the Return of the Jedi card, which had just been offered also in the Galaxy's Edge exclusive creature pack. It was the same Salacious Crumb from 2014, but with new legs, articulated legs. And that one, it stung us a little bit because stung Evan, yes. Yeah. As we always talk about the mini cards from the 2011 Death Star set.
Yep. I will not let it go. This was the year for them to do it for the vintage collection.
Yeah.
I wanted those mini cards.
And fans have also wanted, Power of the Force cards with coins, and it was just a little bit like, we want that in the vintage collection, so maybe they're trying to draft off some vintage collection wants, it's always kind of a kick in the stones when that happens, a kick in the bone accessories. So that was all stuff that had already come out or was irrelevant to our overall happiness in life. But the final tier dream was at 19,000 would be a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight on a Power of the Force card, which I believe at the time was supposed to be all new.
Yes.
So to circle back on all these, a lot of them have come out in some way, some form or fashion into the line. And the Gamorrean Guard came out again as a repack on Return of the Jedi 40th card.
Currently on clearance at Targets.
And currently still on pre-order, never fulfilled from Target.
Yes, true. On clearance in-store, TBD, probably never from Target.com.
Yes. And that same Salacious Crumb, which is already available in the Galaxy's Edge set, is coming again in the Jabba the Hutt set for Black Series. The specific hardbacks were not produced, though, so that's the only things for those guys, and the coins.
No coins, yeah.
Yeah. And the sculpt for this Luke made its way into 3 different Luke figures this year, but we never get Luke, right? Including
Luke erasure.
Yeah. Including the Book of Boba Fett Jedi Academy, Mandalorian Imperial Light Cruiser, and Return of the Jedi Death Star 2 versions.
Mm-hmm.
But this specific Jabba's Palace figure shown in the digital renders remains unmade. The only difference being the lower tunic piece and colors of the cloak and right hand, and the specific Power of the Force cardback was not produced.
To be fair, I do remember when that Luke was revealed, it was literally only a year since they had just done a second production run of the Walmart exclusive Jedi Knight Luke, which was already regarded as a pretty nice figure for the Black Series. So it was one that needed 0 updates. Yeah. So it was a bit of a head scratcher.
And everybody kind of knew that it would kind of be reused as a Mandalorian Luke anyway, regardless of if it got made or not.
And it was probably something already planned again for Return of the Jedi 40th. As you've said, John, that pieces of it have been used across several different figures.
Yeah, so you can really add the skirt if you want. The head sculpt is just so bad on that figure. But anyway, stuff everybody already had, or stuff everybody didn't need. It was just a little bit not a thrilling campaign, as we all mentioned.
And again, what was that Luke at? How many backers?
19,000, so very optimistic.
And the thing sat at about 6,000 backers for most of the campaign.
Yeah, it was continually losing backers. Got a big surge on the final day, again, as these always do.
Well, because Hasbro caved into some bullying and altered the deal.
So as we talk about lines built around these HasLabs, there weren't that many Jabba's Palace items in the Black Series when this was mentioned. Bib Fortuna was not out yet. I don't think it had been announced yet. I could be wrong about that. It might have been announced. Anyway.
Because he did come out around that time. Yeah.
There was there was a Jabba, there was a Bausch Leia, there was Jedi Luke, there was C-3PO, there was, not even Return of the Jedi Boba Fett yet. Not a lot to go with this world. And there was definitely not a Malakili, Rancor Keeper, or Ula. So that was kind of, Yakface had the infamous no Ula, no Mula hashtag. And but then they said, somebody along the line is probably not comfortable with Ula coming out. That was basically confirmed by when Steve Evans said it was not likely. But they can't have a scantily clad woman, but they can have a shirtless man. Action figure breasts are fine if they're male. So
yes.
And they said at the end, they posted a picture of Malakili on the verge of tears on their Instagram and said, "We hear you. We can't do the Rancor without Malakili. We're going to add him in the base offering." And then, it still wasn't quite enough. A little too late.
Yeah, that was a few days before it ended, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And a last gasp. Yeah. And
that was hard to watch, man.
Ula was mentioned in the copy when they talked about the Rancor enjoying his Twi'lek snack. And she is a Twi'lek snack, God bless her. But they... And her skull was included in the bone
one
accessory
of the plastic
bag.
Bones.
Yep.
Yeah.
But sadly, knowing that they could never have that figure, and they never would, they never will, they never have, it was kind of another crushing blow to, okay, why make this item if you can't build the line around it? It was a little bit like, Anyway, we're getting down in the dumps about that one. Let's move on to the next one to get down in the dumps about that.
Yeah, I'm a lightsaber collector. We all know about that. Everybody knows Evan likes collecting lightsabers. They're great. Be it the Disney Legacy ones or whatever, or the Hasbro Black Series Force Effects Elite, which got looped into HasLab around the time Obi-Wan Kenobi came out with Riva's lightsaber.
I'm checking on the dates. One real quick thing about the Boba Fett, not Boba Fett Rancor, the Return of the Jedi Rancor. There was rumors at the time that a different Rancor, but similar Rancor, was going to be showing up in the Book of Boba Fett just a few weeks after, that was starting a few weeks after the campaign closed. It didn't really actually appear or wreak havoc until later in the season, at which point everyone was like, I kind of want that now. Like, I would like to be able to buy a Rancor. Did Lucasfilm
Yes.
tell Hasbro maybe think about doing a Rancor, but then they didn't really plan the timing of it very well? Unclear on that. But in a different spin, Riva's lightsaber was announced at Celebration. Hey now. It was announced the exact same day that the Obi-Wan show premiered, or I guess the day after the evening premiere on May 27th, 2022 at Celebration. The campaign, again, ran for 45 days, ending on July 11th. Cost of $499.99 back to Sail Barge pricing on that one. Mm-hmm. About double what the other lightsabers are. Some of the lightsabers are like $278 now.
Yeah, they've had a price creep lately, but you can usually find them for less. So
I mean, it's 2 lightsabers, so basically double the price of a Force FX lightsaber.
Yeah, but was it 2 lightsabers? Because the hilt did not detach into 2 pieces.
Yeah.
You could just take the blade out of one side. So it was still technically 1 lightsaber.
Yes. You can take the blades out of both sides, right? But
yeah. But, a couple different configurations. But the circular guard around it did not collapse, I don't think.
No.
So you could display it in a screen accurate way because Riva mostly has it in a half circle most of the series. Mm-hmm. Inquisitor lightsabers notoriously spin. That's a big thing. Their helicopter blade thing. That was something this just could not do. Realistically, because, science, physics, reality. And because it was so long, the blades, even in all the photos they showed of it, I was just noticing a sag on all of it.
We were in the room at Celebration, and I remember when Chris held up the lightsaber, like it was noticeably sagging.
Oh, it was, I don't think I was very excited about that.
It was like, I don't know. Yeah. They did address that, another altering the deal situation. There were no stretch goals. They announced up front.
They were just like, this is
no games. We're not playing games this time, which kind of makes it seem like they're playing games on the other ones. Anyway.
Yeah.
But halfway through the campaign, they started adding stands for the blades into the images. They were like, everybody noticed these things are limp. We got to prop them up a little bit. So they had little stands for the ends of the blade if you wanted to display it with the blades out all the time. It wanted 5,000 backers, which was, again, the same number as the Sail Barge. But it tapped out at 1,413. Womp womp. Were you among those numbers?
I was, but not in like a, way. Like, I'm bummed because I love Inquisitor lightsabers, but the price was wrong. The product was not as good as I wanted it to be. Mm. It just wasn't, I don't know. I know people complain like, oh, it should have been the Grand Inquisitor's lightsabers. It would have still been underwhelming. And yes, or like, oh, they should have just branded it the Grand Inquisitor. They couldn't have, because the Inquisitor lightsabers are actually unique. If you look at them, they each have a different lightsaber. So,
but to someone deep in the weeds on the lightsabers, it could never possibly stand for another Inquisitor lightsaber. But
no,
I'll say, as someone who, I freak out about every other detail under the sun, but and I like lightsabers. I have several of the Force FX Elite lightsabers. They're good products. They're fun items. Yeah. I think, if you were a fan of Rebels, if you wanted another Inquisitor lightsaber, because they all, I know the styles are different. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
This would have done the trick. It would have done the trick.
You could have had it on a shelf with your Rebels items, and it would have been close enough. Maybe not. Yeah. Maybe. It was as close as they had ever come in the Force FX line.
It goes to, though, speaking of asking $499.99 for it, asking $500 for it, I did not feel that the product was worth it. It was not worth it. It just wasn't, because sure, some of it was impressive, but overall it was just like, and I think I'm their target demographic for that. Someone who loves their lightsaber line, someone who wants lightsabers, someone who loved the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, someone who likes Riva, And even I was looking at that thing the whole time, just like, I don't care about this. And guess what? Neither did Hasbro, because they just said, whatever, this is it. And then it ended, and literally it was never mentioned. Like, I think they stopped mentioning it after that first week, or when they revealed the stands for the blades.
They're like,
and they just said, whatever, who cares? I held the prototype at the Hasbro booth.
Oh yeah,
because they had it at the booth, and they were showing it to folks, and it was neat. And I'm bummed I don't have an Inquisitor lightsaber, but
I remember even when we interviewed Patrick and Chris was like, "It's like, you gonna back the lightsaber?" I was like, I don't know. It's too big. And it's like, it looks great in a DTOF. I was like, I will say,
All right. So we've talked about HasLab history for Star Wars. Successes,
Yes.
the failures. Overall, though, HasLab as a model has been a pretty, well, I don't know, a fairly successful model for Hasbro.
I think so. If my numbers are correct, my quick counting, there were 3 other failed HasLabs. The Engine of Vengeance, the Cookie Monster replica, and the Avalon Hill Heroescape Age of Annihilation Vanguard Edition. And there were 10 other thrilling successes, including the G.I. Joe Dragonfly that is going on right now, perhaps ending or already ended when this episode comes out. But yeah, so and 10 additional successes. So 12 successes, 5 failures. Not terrible overall.
No. And again, I think that's kind of the nature of the model is it's the community speaking. It's their fan base speaking with their wallets. This is something we want. This is something we don't want. So
if they had put these failures on the shelf, they would have lost a lot more money by producing it and shipping it and getting Walmart and Target and Amazon to buy into it.
Yeah,
but,
that is, I suppose, the point. So
yes. So.
Yeah. But yes, so now we are on the eve of the HasLab. We spent an hour talking about not this. We're now talking about the upcoming HasLab that will be revealed at Comic-Con. After you hear this episode, maybe right before you've listened to this episode to kind of get in the mood. Yes. So I'm just going to say it. If it's the Ghost.
Yes.
That originated on our live stream last week. Again, can't say anything for certain. We don't know anything, but the common assumption seems to be that it's likely, maybe, possibly, probably
the Ghost. Even
from
ignoring
Star Wars Rebels and the upcoming show, Ahsoka.
Yes, and briefly glimpsed in Rogue One and The Rise of Skywalker. If you're a live action only kind of guy,
I don't watch cartoons. I only like Muppets.
I hate joy.
Star Wars ended in 1983. There goes all of our listeners.
Yes, but so to that point, if it's the Ghost, as we've mentioned, Hasbro Pulse has been releasing these teases on their social medias where it's the view screen, the blue view screen from the Ghost, whatever it's called. And it has lots of hints like, crew members talking about crew members and,
crew assignments
turrets.
complete.
Yeah, crew assignments. Yeah. I should have written it out. That would have been a great thing to add to this episode, but I did not. So there we go.
It would have been, but you know what? The ship sailed.
Yes.
Like Riva's lightsaber. Who gives a shit?
So as we've been saying with the other HasLabs, they're almost always about a month and a half, about a 45-day window. And that gives you time to scrounge up the cash, sell some lemonade on the street corner, sell other things in the street corner, look under your couch cushions,
purge those Black Series collections.
Yes, take money out of your kids' college funds to because you don't get charged until the end of the campaign if it's a successful campaign.
Correct.
If it reaches the number of backers, those backers will be charged at 11:59 p.m. on the day the campaign closes. If it backs the first day, if it backs the last day, if it backs halfway through, if you back it any of those times, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets charged at the very end of the campaign. Yes. So keep that in mind.
If you hit back on day one, you still have an extra month and a half, probably, to scrounge up the dough.
Yes. You should. And Tyler has been yelling at you to scrounge up that dough already. So if you don't already have it, you should be planning ahead.
And again, this is not telling anybody anything about what to do with their money. It's just if you want it, if you're interested in a vintage collection HasLab, regardless of what it is, if you're interested in what the specific thing is that we think it is, if it's the Ghost, great. Yeah. These are just helpful little nudges to remind you to save if you want it, or back it, support it, show the support if you want it, or the things it could come with or beget in the line.
Yes, and it's a good show of support for the line.
Yes.
If you don't want it, don't get it, great. But if you want to show support for vintage collection items in general, it would be a smart idea to back it. There are some people who probably can't afford it at the moment that will be, hitting you up in a year and a half for, twice the price of what it is now. Just saying, don't be a scalper, but that's usually the way these things go.
I did see a video, someone saying that, the Razor Crest though is only like $600 or so now. And that's basically what it was when it was the HasLab was like, what?
No, that's still
almost double the price. You can still sell it for almost twice what it was worth. What?
Yeah. If you
Math.
bought two, you could cover both of them by selling one.
Yeah. Which is not saying do that, just,
Right. But long story short, it's never gonna be cheaper than it is when it's offered as a HasLab. They're not, they're not going to re-release it.
Never be offered again.
It will never be offered again. As we said, some of the additional fun bonuses, the tier unlocks might come in a different way, in a different package with different deco, what have you, with fewer accessories, but the main item will never be offered again.
Yeah.
The only counterpoint to that is that one of the other Avalon Hill ones was available separately, but they were upfront about that, the Hero Quest game system, which was actually the most successful one according to their website. It got 107,992 backers and only needed 500, and then it was available as a regular item after that without some of the items.
It wasn't super expensive, if I recall correctly, either.
No, there were two tiers using a different meaning of the word tier. There was a $99 heroic tier and the $149.99 mythic tier, whatever that means.
So that was maybe the least expensive HasLab. Yep. So that makes sense, especially if it was like a card game system.
Yes. So the other most expensive HasLab up to this point was Unicron, the Transformers War of Cybertron figure that launched in 2019. Cost was $574.99. That was the most expensive. Perhaps we are about to break that record if rumors are to be believed.
Yes, it'd be a little higher than that, price-wise.
Yes, and that one needed 8,000 backers, and they did extend it by 36 days. I do not expect that to happen here. That was the only time that has ever happened. Every other time since then, they were like, "Sorry guys, that was your chance. That was your shot. You blew it." So I would not expect them to do that again.
Yeah. I guess, and we touched on this a little bit on our recent live stream. And I know we've mentioned it several times, but last weekend we did a stream with John Miko from the Vintage Collection, the Vintage Collection Facebook group, Victoria from Victoria's Cantina, and Tim from Bosk's Bounty. Fun time. It's great. So watch that on our YouTube if you want to go back and listen to more people other than just us two talk about stuff. Thank you to our guests and all those who did watch live. Mm-hmm. I guess one of my concerns though with this is this, and I'm not trying to be dour. I'm super excited for this HasLab, regardless of what it is. And based on what we seem to assume it might be, if it's the Ghost, incredibly excited about that. Mm-hmm. I do worry a little bit though about the price being a bit high and things being a bit more expensive in general in our day-to-day life. Yep. Some other external factors such as student loan interest starts accruing again the same day that this likely ends its backing window. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bunch of other pre-orders up in the air of fairly more expensive items other than just a mainline wave, also due to kind of arrive at that same time. Although at the top of the show, John, you had mentioned the Tusken Raider pack, which then moved up from that time to ship maybe in August.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff, like there was a wave of Black Series and a wave of Indiana Jones Adventure Series that were supposed to ship early to mid-September, and they're shipping now in mid-July. So, we say, as always, these items could arrive early or late. The big one to look out for is the Boba Fett's Throne Room set, mm-hmm. which was kind of like a diet HasLab Light, if you will. Yes. Where they had open pre-orders for a long time on Hasbro Pulse, and that should be shipping early September. But that did not charge ahead of time. That will charge when it ships, like most other Hasbro Pulse items.
Yes. And if you ordered 2 for that carded fat bib and 1 to open, like some of us here, prepare yourselves.
Also me, yes.
Yeah.
That was what, $230? Was that the deal?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So get ready. Get those credit cards. Hope your credit cards are updated and clean and clear and have a lot of runway on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we want to talk about things that we'd like to see Hasbro do to support this hashtag if it's the Ghost?
Yes. I'll say real quick, the backing window, since it will probably open on this Friday, July 21st, when they do the panel at 2 p.m., 45 days after that is the first week of September. That's why we're saying kind of plan to have the money available then. If all things, looking at the other campaigns, if everything is the same, that's probably when it will charge. Yeah. So there you go. So yes. So there's a lot I'd like to see them do to support it. the issue is that
nothing. Yeah. Like the Razor Crest, which only had a couple figures in the line before this big ticket item was announced. Rebels has been a notoriously absent and unrepresented completely media property in the vintage collection.
Yes, figures from this show are always highly requested on the SWTVC March Madness. Every year they always do well. The entire crew is always in the bracket. We do have Thrawn in the pipeline. He will be the first character on a Rebels card, as far as we know, unless something pops up before that. But that's the first one announced for a Rebels card in Vintage Collection, finally. As I've said before, Rebels was kind of in that weird area where Vintage Collection 1.0 ended, the figures ended late 2012, the vehicles ended late 2013, Rebels started fall of 2014. It had a full line of animated style, 5 points of articulation figures, fun figures. It's a fun, colorful line. Maybe not the standards that most Vintage Collection collectors are looking for. And then it ended in spring of 2018, right as the Vintage Collection was coming back. So it missed its window to kind of be a currently airing property with the Vintage Collection figures. And of course, Black Series was around when Rebels was around, so it got most of the crew when it was out, and then they were already, well into the crew when it ended, so they were able to add the last few after that, and then repaint them all and add Zeb a couple years after that. Whereas Vintage Collection has 0 of them so far. So the crew is obviously the biggest want that people have from Rebels, especially when it comes to the Ghost.
Many of the characters from Rebels have been making the jump to live action based on the Ahsoka trailer or Zeb popping up in the Mandalorian the Mandalorian season 3. So, again, a lot of this stuff is being translated into Ahsoka, which Dave Filoni kind of mentioned to Rosario Dawson offhand that it's kind of like season 5 of Rebels. It's a continuation of that story.
Yep.
So
and
that makes sense.
We keep comparing, we talked about it on the stream, but, comparing if one figure would be able to work for both appearances, because, Hera's got a cool jacket now, similar to her Squadron's jacket, but not similar to anything that she actually wore in Rebels. Sabine, she has that long hair and jumpsuit look, but when she puts the armor back on, it's supposed to be the same armor from Rebels, which she repainted over and over again. So, she loves to repaint. We know Hasbro loves to repaint, so they could just do that. Ezra is wearing the exact same clothes because it's a similar hologram from the end of season 4 that we see in the trailer. Zeb now has his flight suit in Mandalorian, so that would be a different body for the most part. Kanan is presumably not making the jump to live action. Spoiler alert for a 5-year-old episode
almost 10-year-old,
of TV.
Almost 10-year-old show.
Yeah,
5-year-old episode.
But he will probably not be in the continuing story unless, though his spirit kind of lives on in Doom the Wolf. It's a strange show, but I love it.
And we hear him in Rise of Skywalker. So.
We do. So, so there's a lot of things they can do to kind of fit both worlds. Chopper looks the exact same. There's already a great Disney Parks version. Maybe they can re-release that in a figure set, or Hasbro can borrow the tooling or do a new one of their own or something. But that's the big elephant in the room is, where's the Rebels crew if we're going to have a big Rebels item. But
yes,
as we have shown with those Instagram posts, they do build lines around the HasLabs if they're successful. So, if there's a big showing of support for this, that would be a big showing of support for Rebels in general and the crew in particular, in my opinion. Though, of course, we don't know. Are some going to be included in the HasLab? Are none going to be included in the HasLab? Are they going to be tiers? Are they going to be part of the base offering? Are they going to be pipelines that are mentioned, a week into the campaign to goose interest? We have no idea. I have no idea.
No. And it's, for me, there's a lot of stuff that I do personally want to see in the Vintage Collection that is either directly or indirectly tied to both the Ghost, be it through Rebels or through Ahsoka. So this ship would pull double duties for 2 media properties, animated and live action, which of course the animated would be new media now, or the live action would be new media now. Rebels will be celebrating its 10th anniversary next year.
Yep.
Chris Rice has said to me directly in a Q&A that Rebels is his favorite. Like, they obviously are aware of the demand for Rebels characters. Yeah. So while there's a lot of this stuff tied to that, I do think that if this were to be a smashing success, or if this were to be just pretty dang successful in general, it would beget or at least boost the likelihood of a lot of these things making their way into the line. So,
yeah, for sure. And as you mentioned, the anniversary next year, similar to how the Rancor went up a year and a half before the Return of the Jedi anniversary, and it was supposed to ship and the Return of the Jedi anniversary. That's why people are like, why isn't this, or why is this, or could it be a Return of the Jedi item for the 40th anniversary? No. If it's the Ghost, it would make sense to happen alongside the premiere of the Ahsoka series. We've already seen it in the trailer. We saw the cockpit, the interior of the cockpit, when Hera says, "Once a rebel, always a rebel." That's in the Ghost. We have not actually seen the exterior yet, which I'm getting a little nervous on that.
3 episodes will have aired by the time.
But I'll say by the time it ships, it will be the 10th anniversary of Rebels, so it's relevant to both Ahsoka and Rebels. But in terms of actually seeing it, thanks to the 2-episode premiere, we know 3 episodes will have aired by the time that it likely closes. And there were some images released that had the episode numbers on them. So there was an image of Hera in episode 3. At least she appears in the first episode as a hologram. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But we don't know we don't know when exactly we're going to see the Ghost. We hope that Hera's going to be flying the Ghost the entire time, but we've seen her on other ships and stuff as well.
But this is not like the Rancor scenario from Book of Boba Fett, because we know these characters are there. We know that the Ghost is at least a thing that's present.
Yeah.
While this is a thing that's happening, it's not a secret surprise that, Lucasfilm is trying to keep away from Hasbro, or at least I hope.
Yeah, I hope not. And luckily, and Lego is doing a Ghost again, their second Ghost, a second or third maybe. That just dropped. So that's out in the world. It might have leaked a day early, but it went up on Amazon after it debuted to the world. And interestingly, that one has Ahsoka figures in it. So it's got a New Republic officer, a Mon Calamari pilot, but it's got Hera, Chopper, right? And
I think so. And
Jason Syndulla, previously only seen in the Rebels Season 4 epilogue. And he's got new hair. That's a whole other topic, a whole other ball of wax. But so if the Lego is doing Ahsoka series figures for it, does that mean Hasbro is going to be doing Ahsoka series figures for it? Or will they put that in the main line and have Rebels figures in the HasLab, or do some here and some there? I don't know. They got so many options, and we're all waiting on pins and needles to see what they do. But
there are a lot of options, and these are all things that have been oft requested. And in terms of Rebels, and then with Ahsoka, these are all things that seem to be things that people are interested in seeing because it's new, and also because Rebels is a popular property. It is one of those things that as time has gone on, it's still staying relevant. And it is, I've said this before on the show many times, where Rebels is basically what laid the foundation for almost all of the live action Star Wars shows going on Disney Plus right now. There's at least something inspired by Rebels in each show.
Yeah, we know
except
that,
for
Andor,
like, but
well, no, even Tony Gilroy is talking about Mon Mothma, and like he's always like, we know the canon, we know when Mon Mothma leaves the Senate, which we saw in Rebels. That's a Rebel scene that he is currently working around, or involving Saw Gerrera and everybody. So the fact that officially they've revealed Thrawn from Rebels, and this kind of goes along with their, when Boba Fett was about to show up in The Mandalorian, we got a helmet and I think a Black Series figure and the Vintage Collection Return of the Jedi figure. When Palpatine was about to show up in Rise of Skywalker, they did some Black Series stuff for him. So I think they Lucasfilm maybe might say, hey, think about these characters, think about bringing back these legacy characters at this time. We can't 100% say why. And then, or maybe they do say they're going to be in the new show, but we don't want to reveal assets of the new costumes or the new designs or whatever. So this shows that they are aware of what's coming up. They are aware of the timing. And there's rumors of other Ahsoka series figures coming from Yak Face that's out in the public. So we'll talk about it a little bit. But
yeah, those are things that I'm kind of hopeful are things that could be shown at San Diego Comic-Con, is some of these things to be like, hey, we're asking you to get this HasLab, but guess what? In the main line, there's going to be some things that could maybe go with it as well if you get it. So
yeah, I think I'm confident that they will have these things, but I think it would ease a lot of people's minds if they actually showed them or announced them.
Yeah. That's just where a lot of my anxiety stems from, is this very piecemeal, secret-y kind of approach that's very frustrating that Hasbro takes, and whether or not that's a Lucasfilm dictation or Hasbro
or
kind of misreading the room constantly.
And I've said before that, Emily mentioned to us that every show is different in terms of how much the directors or the filmmakers share with Hasbro.
Yes.
So it seems that like the fact that we didn't get any Book of Boba Fett figures until a year and a half after that show aired indicates that, there was some early on that were just similar to their Mandalorian looks. Boba was a good one early on, but seems like Jon Favreau is very into the secrecy of everything. Don't leak anything through toys, whereas Dave has been part of the Lucasfilm family for, 15 plus years. And he kind of, he collects the toy, or he, is a fan of the Kenner toys anyway. He knows how fun it is to have some of the stuff. Some surprises should be 100% kept for the show.
Oh yeah.
Others, not every single, not the look of the main character does not need to be a secret. I don't think.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
Yeah. Or, let's avoid another like, hey, it's going to take us 2 years to give you a Luke Skywalker action figure.
Yeah.
So,
but,
especially because that did leak before the film came out. So it was out there.
Yes.
Whatever.
I was thinking about which secret Luke scene you were talking about because the Mandalorian one didn't leak, but the
both actually really, but yeah. I'm talking 2014 days, 2015.
It keeps happening.
It does. But yes, so if it's the ghost, awesome. I'm excited about that. I will laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh if it ends up not being the ghost. Because honestly, I'm along for the ride. I support the vintage collection just personally. This is not me telling anyone to do anything. I support the vintage collection. I want just about everything that they release for it. And these HasLabs as dream items, which brings up that there are many commonly mentioned dream items. You'll see people on posts about it maybe being the ghost, and they'll be like, well, it should be this, or I want this. And it's like, great, there's a long list of things we want. So let's keep maybe hopefully showing them that the HasLab model is viable. And we can just get more HasLabs.
And to that point, real quick, I just wanted to say, people got upset on the stream when we said, support this if you want that, which don't buy anything you don't want to do. Don't do anything with your money that's going to put you out, obviously.
Yeah.
But looking at the history of the line, they have said things like, Black Series vehicles have not historically done that well for us. We probably won't be doing more of them going forward. That was brought up on a recent Q&A. They specifically went out of their way after, the Snowspeeder didn't do so hot in Black Series. When they announced the Rancor, they said, it's not going to be a vehicle, guys. Don't worry. So if things they didn't say don't worry, but that was my interpretation. If things don't sell, that means they won't keep making those things. Mm-hmm. So just throwing that out there, just saying that. Yeah. So,
and I do, that's where I worry, where if this doesn't do well, guess what? All of those things that I want that would be related to that, if it's the ghost, would become a lot less likely to happen. So,
yeah. Not that they're holding us hostage and saying we need this to get that, but we can.
No, and it's just, but it is also
support these items and these shows and these lines. Then
it's not 20 years ago. We are in a fairly precarious position in terms of stuff. Yeah. And that's why we do this stuff, though, to champion the continued existence, expansion, and success of this stuff. So
yes. So you can get mad at us, but that's where we are.
Apologies. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry. But I want this selfishly.
Yes. Yeah.
But there are plenty of commonly mentioned things that you'll see pop up in the comment sections of this stuff of HasLabs folks would like to see. And it being based around this idea of a dream item, like the sail barge. The Razor Crest, arguable if it's a dream item or not, it's just one that where we're at today, that it's not something that would be necessarily feasible as a big ticket item. It's high risk for retailers to carry. So that's why you wouldn't likely see it made outside of this model.
Right.
But let's take a look at some of these other ideas. John, you have a couple notes here to kind of run us through that.
So there are a lot of ideas that keep popping up, but I wanted to go back to a poll that our friend John Miko ran in the Facebook group last year on July 4th, 2022. It got 1,212 votes, so pretty good participation. He had thrown out 6 choices based on what he commonly saw people talking about as HasLabs, potential HasLabs. They were the Ghost and the Phantom, which got 42% of the vote. That was the winner.
Which you will see in many comments that no one wants the Ghost.
Yeah. So now that it's
womp womp
being talked about as a potential, and now everyone's like, I don't want this. But until it was mentioned, it was very commonly requested. Second place was a Death Star playset at 30%. And then lower than that was figure dream packs at 9%, a Cantina playset at slightly less of 9%. And then below that was a Sandcrawler at 5%. And below that, in last place, sorry, Tyler, was an Imperial Shuttle, also at 5%.
So 2 of those are things that have already been made.
Yeah, and the Cantina and the Death Star have had items in the line, not a full big playset, but they've had pieces and sections and miniature playsets and things like that.
Yeah. And I understand why the figure dream packs can kind of be a hard sell if you're not lost deep in the weeds on tooling and the limitations of the main line and the regular figure budget.
The question is always, why can't they just do that at retail? And it's like, well, yeah, that's the great question, but the answer is because they're just not doing it. So we got to find another way to get more figures out however we can.
Yeah. How do we catch up?
Yeah. But so those are all items we've talked about. I know Tyler loves the Imperial Shuttle. I have one already. We also have a Sandcrawler, which it's small. They could do amazing things with these items. I really want a Cantina playset. The Ghost is absolutely my most wanted HasLab item.
I would go for all of these personally.
I would too, and the Death Star and the Cantina playset I think are things that people have been talking about for a long time. Now that we have a perfect Jabba's Palace playset area coming, just imagining what they could do with that expression going forward is amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm always most interested in things that they haven't done before or haven't done well before. I think the Imperial Shuttle, while outdated for sure and 40 years old, gets the job done for the most part.
Yeah.
I need it to look cool at an Emperor's arrival scene. This one does that. I don't need to have a fully detailed interior, though a new one would. For the Sandcrawler, I need it to look cool behind a droid lineup. The Disney one does that. The paint could be better. The scale would be as big as a car if it was actually to scale.
Yeah.
But so some of these things we got to compromise on a little bit. Those are my opinions on it. I could be tell me I'm wrong, but
these are all things that while they are deeply rooted in classic Star Wars and the original line, the original trilogy, they're all things too that have popped up in new and recent media lately and have been featured heavily in things. And so there's still things that exist in Star Wars today. They always will. I mean, it's not going to not exist, but yeah.
Yeah, things that have shown up again in Mandalorian or Andor or whatever.
Yeah.
And another item that keeps coming up this year as Return of the Jedi 40th item is the Ewok Village. I don't know how much of that is a joke, how much of that is serious.
Some folks seem pretty serious about it.
I think they do. And it would be cool, but we've explained why it probably is not going to be a Return of the Jedi item because it won't be shipping until Return of the Jedi is 41 and a half years old, which is not really a great anniversary to celebrate.
But when did the Ewoks cartoon air? And when were the Ewoks movies?
84, 85.
There you
maybe.
Go. Do it
oh,
then.
God. So it's going to be that now.
I mean, if it is, even though that's something that excites me maybe the least out of everything that we've talked about, I still want it.
It would be cool.
So it would be cool. They could do great things.
There are definite ways to do, the Ewok Village is basically trees and platforms, and I don't think that's unfeasible at retail or as a. I don't know. It would be cool if they really built it out. Lego's done some cool ones. They did the Kinner one is pretty cool. It's one of the few Kinner items I have.
Modular set too of like stackable tree pieces and different platforms. So
yep. The fact that they haven't released any Ewoks from Return of the Jedi in the Vintage Collection this year, but again, going back, they haven't done any Rebels either. So I don't know. Yeah, it's not an insane idea, but it's just all signs are indicating that it will not be that. So
yes. But yeah, are we missing any? Put it on your wish list.
Put it on wish list for next year. No, I mean, everybody wants HasLabs. I've said before, but I think some things like the Sandcrawler are just like people look at what we already have for HasLabs and they imagine that it can only be a giant vehicle. And say, what other giant vehicles do we need? What do we already have? We already have a Falcon. We already have an X-Wing. We already have this and that. We need how about a Sandcrawler? That's a big giant item they haven't done to TVC quality perhaps yet. I know Tim from Bosk's Bounty wants one. More power to you. It doesn't get my motors running as much as some of these others, but it's all good. It's all good.
Well, speaking of the Ewok Village, going back to Return of the Jedi, it is still the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary, and while it takes time to get product from concept to shelf, it doesn't take time for me to farm responses from the community as we put out the call earlier in May about the Return of the Jedi anniversary and having the community share their stories about why it's important. Continuing this kind of theme throughout all of our live streams and podcasts this year, I'm just sharing some of these fun little thoughts that people dropped, stories and thoughts that people dropped for us to share. And jump into this. First one is from Luke Photography Walker. He says, definitely, hands down, my favorite Return of the Jedi moment is when Luke ignites his green lightsaber. I remember yelling, "It's green! Oh my God, it's green!" A lifetime later, Luke's hero lightsaber is still my all-time favorite fantasy weapon. Yes, I agree. They just released that in the Black Series Force Effects Elite. Perfect time to do so. It reminds me of Steele Saunders of the Steel Wars podcast. He had a little hashtag called Ignite the Green or something like that. Made me laugh. Next story is from friends of the show, friends of the SWTVC team, Twin Sons Collecting. This one's a little longer. Bear with me for a sec. Our first experience of the Star Wars trilogy was the special edition release in 1997. We were 6 at the time. Return of the Jedi came out in March 1997, and we saw it on a Sunday with our dad the day after seeing Space Jam on the Saturday for a friend's birthday party. I remember Dad having to convince Mom that it was okay to go to the cinema 2 days running. Matt had to leave the screen momentarily because of Yoda's death scene. He writes, ha. We then watched the VHS set over and over and over and over. Being 6, we had no idea that there were original versions and didn't actually see these versions until almost adulthood. We actually found the originals to be as jarring as people found the special editions. We don't care for Lapty Neck and Yub-Nub at all, haha. And the 97 version will always be our favorite. Extended celebration ending with the Sebastian Shaw ghost. We've run out of superlatives to describe the original trilogy. It will always be the greatest of all time for us. We've since seen Return of the Jedi screenings in a park at Celebration Europe, Germany, with an orchestra playing the soundtrack at the Royal Albert Hall, and the 40th anniversary this year. Each time, we still notice new things in the background or in the score. We think the OT is magic. The Power of the Force 2 Jedi Luke will also remain a top-tier figure for us. The first figure we remember handing money to a cashier for, saved up birthday money. We don't mind the Ewoks as much as some people, but we were only 6 when we saw it for the first time. That's fun. I enjoy that. Yeah. Funny story, actually. The day around the time the Barge arrived for me back in 2019, I had actually gone in Denver at the First Bank Center, which I think is now closing. They did one of those orchestra play-alongs for the films, and it was Empire Strikes Back. I would love to have seen Return of the Jedi, but Empire is my favorite Star Wars movie, but those play-alongs are magic. So if there's one ever near you, John, have you ever seen one of those where they do the score for the whole movie?
I actually have not, but I saw John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl recently, which was an amazing moment, one of the top moments as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And I saw that they're going to be doing Return of the Jedi there in September, so I got to get tickets for that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'd recommend basically seeing any kind of live Star Wars music performance is always a treat. Yep. So yeah.
They had one, not to derail too much, but they had the one, as I was seeing John Williams, I thought the one they had was that 10, 15 years ago? It had Anthony Daniels doing the whole story, episode 1 through 6 at the time, the whole thing. They had a touring orchestra. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was called, what was it, Star Wars: A Musical Journey? And they released an album version of that around the time of Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yeah, where Ian McDiarmid hosted it. Anthony Daniels stepped in for the touring version, but whichever old British Star Wars actor you can get is fine by me.
Old British Star Wars actor. At the time, they're still around, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yes, again, thank you to all that have shared their stories and continue to share their stories with us about Return of the Jedi in celebration of its 40th anniversary with us over at SWTVC on Instagram. That's always hard to say. Please, if you haven't, find that post. Maybe I'll share it to the stories here and continue to add to it. We'll keep going through that throughout the rest of the year. See how far we get. And at one point, maybe I'll just do an episode where I'm reading Instagram comments. Everyone would love that. Oh, boy. But yes, speaking of Instagram, everybody make sure if you're listening to the show, I would hope you're aware of Instagram being our home at SWTVC. Pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Follow us there. join in the conversation. John, you've been doing some really great stuff for us, such as the HasLab stuff that we've talked about today. There are those posts that we will also share around the time this episode drops, but also some plenty of other cool things, including stuff for like the Clone Wars 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I just did that this week. It was the top 20 most wanted figures from our data that we collected as part of the March Madness initiative earlier this year, as well as like what kind of repaints and repacks they could get out a little more easily. You know, we always want all new figures, but there's still a lot of great tooling they could use to make great figures from both the Micro series from 20 years ago, as well as the 2008 Filoni series. I'll be doing something similar for Rebels after the HasLab launches for no particular reason.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, but having fun doing that and getting excited and talking to you guys about what they could do and what they can get out. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, is there anything else you wanted to tack on here at the end? Oh, I know. While we were recording this in one of our group chats, we have been informed that one of the Target Boba Fett repaints, one of the comic ones, I can't remember which one, but we just talked about where are they? Well, apparently some folks on the West Coast are beginning to find them today at the time of recording this.
I am a folk on the West Coast. I will definitely be going to Target the second we hit stop on this podcast.
Yes. So then there will only be one mystery Boba Fett to track down.
Oh God.
Oh boy. So
that's always fun.
Anyway, that's a real-time update on the podcast. It's old news by the time you listen to it, but we're excited.
They're already all sold out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, gang. Well, hey, that'll do it for this episode. As always, rate and review the pod if you have the time to do so. There's a handy little link on in our bio on our Instagram. Tell all your friends, follow us, all that fun stuff. And now it's time for the fun hashtags to take us out. As always, back TVC, balance the scales Hasbro, finish the 96, keep 375 alive, get the ghost, save. And may the Force be with you.